What is this?
It's the world serpent.
God of War, the 2018 continuation where Kratos finds himself in new lands on his search for peace. For the longest time I've wanted to experience this epic tale, but with it being a console exclusive for so long, I never got the chance. When it finally came to PC though, I was caught up going through other games. Now though, I finally managed to fit it in, and I have to say it is quite the experience. I can't remember which God of War games I played on the PlayStation. It was probably only the first one though. I don't remember ever finishing it. It kinda sucks because there was a time where I actually went through and bought all the physical copies in an attempt to go through them, but just never managed to. Nevertheless, I have finished it now, so this is my retrospective review of God of War 2018.
Welcome to Alfheim, gentlemen.
Starting off with the music. It is definitely an excellent soundtrack, akin to something from a proper blockbuster movie. Like those huge heavy drums and the blasting of the horns. It really helps build the idea of that great journey, that epic saga, something naturally only worthy of a god. Even the vocalizations are fitting, and the orchestral theme is quite powerful even during the softer moments. And speaking of the softer moments, there are portions that are surprisingly gentle yet evocative, and for me personally at least, I found to have more impact on subsequent re-listenings. One of them actually reminded me of Ori and the Blind Forest for some reason. Now, moving on to voice acting. I think it's been mentioned that Chris Judge does an awesome job, and I absolutely agree. His voice work obviously embodies that super strong, tough Spartan really well, but I think he really shines during the emotional moments too.
Squeeze.
With such a naturally large and gruff tone, it's surprising how much depth there is during some of the moments captured.
This knife. It was hers. Now it is yours.
Alistair Duncan also does great work as the voice of Mimir, and really holds his own to make the character stand out.
Time to flip the temple.
Yes, sir.
Let's just agree to stop saying flip the temple. It's starting to sound normal.
Like, I do think Sonny Soljic as Atreus is probably my favourite though, because of how much you consistently hear him without him becoming annoying.
Maybe instead of looting a sacred temple, you can just get out of here?
If I want your opinion, boy, I will ask for it.
I think some of that credit goes to the writing and direction though, considering voices can become quite grating when it's too frequently repeated.
Boy, read this. Boy, what's that say?
Only time you want to talk to me is when you need
Do
something.
you want to tell me something?
I said, the only time you care to talk to me is when you need me to translate for you. If Mom was
If
here...
your mother was still alive, we would not be here at all. Atreus,
Forget it.
you will listen to me and not speak a word. I am your father, and you, boy, are not yourself. You are too quick to temper. You are rash, insubordinate, and out of control. This will not stand.
I can't comment on how the graphics were for this PC port at launch, but at the time of my playthrough, it's excellent. I did initially have some issues with the graphics reverting to 1080p for some reason, but after some slight adjustments, it's fine. I haven't tried 4K to be fair, but at 1440p it looks really good. Now, the absolute spectacle of this game is astounding. I game on a 32-inch monitor and it's excellent. so I can only imagine how great the experience would be on a proper television display. Like, the sheer cinematic style of storytelling is really engaging, at least for me personally. I love feeling like I'm in the world anytime I'm watching a show or movie or playing a game, and God of War completely encompasses that. In fact, by the time some of the sequences ended, I almost forgot that I was in control and just found myself staring at the screen waiting for something to happen. Like, the framing and shots are so immersive and cinematic and well done. I will admit I'm not a big fan of shaky cam most of the time, but this game really makes good use of it, and I kinda let it slide because the rest is just so good. The art style is so judicious. It's so quintessentially Norse inspired. From the weapons to the clothes, from the wall markings to the handholds for climbing, it's perfectly done. Obviously, I'm not a historian, so I can't comment on how accurate it might be, but it all feels like that Norse inspiration is very much alive in this game. Even down to the skill tree and in-game menu, it absolutely epitomizes what one would expect from a Norse-inspired game. The enemy and creature designs are also so well done. For example, these Draugrs and Hellwalkers all look and even play differently. The huge trolls, though probably use the same internal model, each have quite a different look, at least on the surface. They even have some varying differences in their playstyle too. And in my opinion, this game may be 6 years old at this point, but it doesn't feel like it's aged a day.
And that deserves compensation.
What are these?
Braided mistletoe arrows, straighter than Heimdall and perfectly weighted.
Now, moving on to gameplay. To start off, I've heard people say you can finish this story in like 20-25 odd hours. I've put in about 50 hours at this point and I'm still not done. Granted, I feel compelled to 100% it, but it's definitely not necessary, and the story itself honestly feels like more than enough game for most people. When it comes to gameplay, God of War is still a third-person action hack and slasher, and a pretty damn good one at that. The combat isn't necessarily complex, but it definitely has depth too if you want it. Like, you don't really need to go too deep, but you're rewarded when you do. With unique builds and a variety of special attacks and a pretty hefty skill tree, it's pretty impressive. Atreus also comes with his own upgrades, and it definitely makes a difference. Like, it's not some long escort mission where you have an annoying companion, he's actually pretty damn useful. Especially during some of the main boss fights, which I found to all be unique. Each of them mixed up mechanics whilst still playing out as great set piece moments, all the while still telling an awesome tale. Now obviously Kratos still has his rage carried over, and that fits into the game quite well, sort of like a limit break where you get to lifesteal just to keep things fresh. And you'll learn to build that into your strategy because it's pretty helpful, especially against certain late game foes. Like, honestly, this game is pretty challenging, especially when you're trying to attempt the post-story achievements. The enemies you come across are definitely no slouch, and even during the main story campaign, there were moments where I thought I wouldn't make it past. Perhaps I was underleveled or something, but I died a fair bit, especially when I wasn't focused. I didn't even play on the hardest difficulty, and I mean, I'm not very good, but that's okay because it's done now. Even this bitch. Throughout the realms you travel, there's also puzzles that you encounter which, though similar, I think are actually all unique in some way. And on that, I think the game does a really good job in teaching the player the puzzle mechanics. Like, most games will give you a bit of guidance and then go straight to new changes. But with God of War, somehow they've managed to really smooth out that experience by changing each puzzle just enough to be different while still teaching you something new. And all throughout, there's new tools or abilities to keep you engaged. And if that's not enough, the narrative is consistently there throughout.
Odin had persuaded Tyr that the hammer was merely a deterrent, a means to broker peace from a position of strength.
Not only giving you hints without being annoying or oppressive, but with great lore moments that expand the world further.
They crafted Mjolnir, you see. Thor's hammer? the Aesir's greatest murder weapon, the bane of giant kind.
They made Thor's hammer?
I mean, maybe it's just me, but I feel like this is like the perfect game for those friends or family that want to get into games, or at least see what the fuss is about, but are hesitant because it might be too challenging or afraid that it might not be engaging enough. This is one of those games that are so cinematic and immersive and easy to get into that it's an excellent gateway to the world of gaming.
Oh, how can I be so nauseous without a stomach?
Come on, that was great.
Look,
The tower. I knew there was something down here.
This is probably my favorite part about this game, but I mean, it's all pretty great.
That's good to know. Really.
When it comes to the story, I personally think this is absolutely a game that respects its audience. I think that's why this game works so well. And I also think it will age very well into the future. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if people look back and study this game.
Bollocks, brother. Respectfully, bollocks.
It not only understands that gamers have grown up, but were mature enough to appreciate change and understand character development.
that's impossible.
Like the whole background lore on how far Kratos has come and how it handles the gap between the previous titles whilst building and setting up a legacy of future installments, it's just so impressive. The game also does such a good job in its historical references and fan service and pays homage to the original franchise that's already been set up. There are so many great moments spread throughout the story that are just so impactful, especially for the fans of the original games. And the emotional aspect of the characters, especially Kratos, is captured so well.
Mind your tongue, boy! Until our journey is over, one of us must remain focused. Do not mistake my silence for lack of grief. Mourn how you wish. Leave me to my own.
The game deals with so many emotions like grief, acceptance, guilt, and everything in between so expertly without taking away from the core of its characters.
I didn't realize.
No. Why would you?
The thing is, not only is the story excellent, but the way it tells the story is, in my opinion, what sets this game apart from others. Like, the writing and dialogue are obviously well done, but the direction and the way each moment is presented, like the angles and framing of each scene, are such key aspects that bring the game to life. The player's interaction with each of these sections as well, the music and sound, the world and detail, it all just comes together like a perfect storm.
And we will go home, boy.
What?
To give up this easily.
Oh, and obviously don't forget the absolute spectacle, which is probably the most jaw-dropping in any game I've played. Like, other games have those amazing set-piece moments too, but not like God of War, not to the size or scale of this masterpiece.
Close your heart to it. Come then. We have a long journey.
Look, with everything said, I think it's obvious what my opinion on this game is. I mean, it's obvious from everything within the game, and it doesn't take a 2-hour documentary to see that the devs have poured real passion into the game, even though there is. Link in the description.
You are right. I do not believe you. Come, boy.
From the little details spread throughout, to the sprawling world, from the character growth to the amazing story or the stunning visuals, it's all incredible. And as much as I think this game is amazing, I can however still recognize that it's not for everyone.
You are free.
I'm sure a lot of people will love this game, but just as many will probably bounce off it. I myself have a mate who is pretty hardcore when it comes to games, and he loved the intro of this one, but something just didn't click with him, and that's okay. But I think for most people, especially if you're willing to give it a good couple of hours, you will have a great time. I personally think God of War is an absolutely amazing game, and yeah, it is absolutely still worth playing today.
Can you imagine? Mimir of the Bifrost cheats. Those were the days.
If you've managed to sit through this whole video, thank you so much for watching. I'm still looking to upload a brand new video once a fortnight, but be sure to let me know what else you'd like to see in the comments. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully, I'll catch you in the next one.